What is up, everybody? And in today's video, we are going to be breaking down the technique of the USA men's four that went on to win the gold medal at the Paris Olympics in a way that you can understand it and bring it into your rowing, regardless of what level you're at. For those that are new here, my name's Jack Burns. I'm the founder of Edge Rowing. I'm a former GB rower where we work with busy professionals over the age of 40, getting them rowing to the best versions of themselves without wasting time, without destroying your health. Anyways, let's get into the video. So I remember seeing this four win at Paris and, start to wonder like what it was that they did that made them really, really quick. And obviously very, very good technique, like all crews in any A final of the Olympics. Really good fitness, really good mindset. But when I watched them, like comparing them to the other fours, I didn't think that there was anything particularly that separated them at a first glance. So in this video, I want to break down the specifics of what I found they did well. And then I'd also, as always, like to try and find things that maybe I think that they could have done better or maybe weren't necessarily textbook, but they obviously still went on to win a medal despite all that. So anyways, the first thing that they do well is their catch. I really like their catch, to put it simply, and it's kind of interesting the way that they approach the catch, because when they, like, for those that have followed this channel for a while now will know I like to talk about having what we call shape, which is as you draw in with the hands, tap down really low and then keep your hands low the whole way as you go into the front. And what I thought was kind of interesting about these guys is that they didn't really have too much what you would call shape. I'm not even going to bother to write that. They would kind of see, especially as you can see, I can't remember all the names here, but like Justin was actually somebody that came on and was mentoring some of our athletes. So I'm going to share a video that he sent to our athletes when he was in the middle of a training block before the Paris Olympics, right in June. So kind of like right in the hardest training phase, he sent us a video. So I'm just going to clip that to the end of this video, which you can scroll ahead and watch if you're getting bored already. I don't care. But there's some really good value in that as well. But anyways, with their technique, what I thought, and I know this is the part in between where they're kind of like paddling lightly, but they wouldn't have too much of a dramatic tap down. But what they would do is they would kind of draw in level here, and then there would be a sort of gradual tap down with the hands, where when we're coaching, we just like a bit more of a kind of systematic approach where it's broken down into steps, but we like down in a way. But they would kind of almost have a bit of a kind of slow tap down towards the finish, which is kind of linked with something else that I think they could have done better, in my opinion, which we can get to later. But yeah, once they do kind of get past, the knees, that's where you really see the kind of them get the shape there. You can almost see, oh look, they're having, and that's one thing these guys did. Justin would say they all got along really well. So look at these big happy faces here. They're just having so much fun together as a crew. And like, look, these guys won gold at Paris. You don't have to be Mr. Serious all the time in training. You still have a laugh in between your intervals and stuff. But anyways, I'm waffling. Watching here, so Nick Mead, I think the guy's name is at stroke. You can see that gradual dip, and it's almost like as soon as his hands get over his thighs here, that the hands dip down there, and there's quite a dramatic kind of like, going away kind of high, and then there the hands go down there, and you can see that blade go up a little bit. And why is that important? Because when you get to the catch, you want to have a direct lift. You want the blade to be moving towards the water. You don't want to be dragging it along, lifting it up and skying it in. But there's just that. You can see the kind of hand path is much more, once he gets that shape there, he's very straight, and then he rises up to the catch with the hands. Now, what I would say I disagree with that they kind of do is quite a late square. So they're pretty much only square, there. And you can see that they've got that kind of like gradual feathering and squaring. You can see the kind of the oar lock here as well, which is another thing I've heard coaches talk about, how they think you should have a gradual square instead of a either feathered or squared, where you just, one way you can do it is, you're feathered and then you flick it onto the square. And the other way you can do it is where you kind of have that gradual turning of the blade. And it might, my opinion on this is, when the oar is designed to sit feathered or to sit squared. And when you kind of gradually turn that oar from the feather to the square, it's very, very subtle, but you're just increasing a bit of tension in your forearms. And I think that just contributes a little bit to, being a little bit more tense in your upper body. So when I was racing, what I would think about is take the blade out, square, and then feather it and feel that click. And then on the way going forward, feel that click again onto the square, which just really helped me stay loose. The reason coaches say you should do it like this is because it helps you flow, where they do that kind of like gradual square. Coaches like that because it helps you flow more. Who knows? This is why I like kind of talking about my opinion on what I think is good and bad about crews, because they went on and won gold. But just thought I would share that and explain that. But despite all this, they still have a really well timed lift with the hands. And I think, when you're doing the amount of training that these guys are, you have the reps to practice squaring this late while still staying loose and getting connected. If you don't have time to train, I think it's a harder way to learn it, but it's a quicker way to learn it, is to just square a little bit earlier so that when you get here, you can be still. But you can see, I would say stroke seat does manage to stay relatively loose here while placing. And if we see here, okay, they're at full slide there. Full slide, and then the blade's above the water. They probably, if they came in, I feel like I'm talking about stroke seat quite a lot. I've just got the best shot of their blades right now. But you could say that if they squared a little bit earlier, they could time that lift. And you can see they're just hanging around a little bit here on the catch. There. There's a bit of delay before putting in the blade. But while they put in the blade, what they do, this is what I really like about their catch, and kind of goes into like what I think they do really well as a crew, is just that timing. Like, watch this. This is just like, everybody is fully reached out. Look at that. Like, everybody is super compressed. I mean, almost you would say too compressed here from 3-seat. But look, they do not move anywhere. Look how little length they lose here. Like, this is a great example here. Like, if you're struggling with the catch, if you're struggling with driving before you go, I would just watch this. Watch me doing this for like 5 minutes. Watch how still they can stay here. There's no rush. There's no urgency to go, oh my God, I'm so compressed. Get me out of here. They're staying calm. They put the blade in. And then when the blade is in, they then go. And just look at how connected all four of these guys are at this such a long position. And this is one of the first things I think that I really like that they do well, is that catch, is how connected they get. Despite doing some things that you would think wouldn't help you get connected, and how in time they do it, and the length at which they do it. Like, they row so long out here and look, they're just like pissing about here as well. Like, they're just in between bursts, noodling, and still able to do that, like, kind of really good timing here, where they're rowing lightly, and still they're able to go, boom, locked in here. Okay, now we're going, now we're pushing. So now we're on to a point where they're doing some power strokes. So I believe this was some sort of like 10 or 20 on, 10 or 20 off at low to medium rates. So they're going for max power here. So some things are exaggerated, but again, it's a good highlight of like what they do nicely. So the first thing again, obviously that catch, like look at that. God damn, that's a nice catch. Nice placement there, just to go over it again. And like, look, squaring so late, and then just perfectly timed there with that square, boop. Nice with the catch. Anyways, with that length, they then really, 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 really drive the legs down hard while keeping this body angle forward. And it's something Justin Best, I think, the two guys who rode the best in this boat, in my opinion, are 2 and 3 seat. Really, really nice timing. Maybe it's just because they're in a bucket and I think it looks cooler. But what they do nicely is they hang. They're tall guys as well, but they hang and drive with the legs first. They really push the seat back. Like imagine, one analogy if you struggle with this is imagine there's somebody and they're standing here and they're just pushing their hand onto your lower back and you're driving into that lower back. You're not pulling here. You're not thinking, right, grab that. You're thinking push back with the hips and your torso is just solid. And then almost like another good analogy is like your arm is just a rope that's hanging from that. You can even think about it like there's a rope from your kind of femur head all the way through to the handle. And that's the only way that you can drive. And your trunk just happens to be in the middle of that. You don't want to pay too much attention to it. But anyways, really, really good separation. So from this really good length, legs, and then right until the very end, pretty much, they are maybe like a quarter. They've got a quarter of the leg drive to go, and their shoulders are still in front of their hips, which is a pretty good separation. For those of you that know who Valery Kleshnev is, where's his book? I can't see. I've just got a bunch of fucking books on data analytics in there. I thought I had his BioRow book. Anyways, Valery Kleshnev is like this biomechanics specialist. He is like proven, the best way to row using physics and maths and biomechanics. He says that the perfect point biomechanically to start opening your back is when you are halfway through the leg drive. So this is them at full slide. That's probably them at half. And this is where someone like Valery Kleshnev would say you should be opening your back by now. But they hang on just a little bit more until they're kind of at like quarter slide, and then they open the backs, which is interesting. And while they're doing these bursts, it does look like they kind of exaggerate that hip opening, especially Justin really wails on it. But apart from that, I wouldn't say they are too aggressive with when they do their race weight, which we'll cover. They're not like too aggressive with how they open their backs. But what this means is just their leg portion of the stroke is incredibly long and incredibly powerful, and it just generates from that nice locked in position. Like this is why they won gold, if you ask me. Number one, their catch. Okay, they had a really, really good connection at like really good length. The second point is they drive like hell with their legs, keeping their bodies forward. And there, it's basically from here to there that wins them gold in Paris, the way that they push. And to my final point on what I think they do really well is they do this all with such good timing. And that's the first thing I couldn't spot what I thought it was that they did well when I first watched them race. And it was only when I saw this clip that Eamon Glavin posted that I really started to see it. It was just how well they would connect here and drive. And again, these two guys, if you ask me, I mean, they all do it. They all do it really well. Bow seat, that's a really nice long hang. You can see their bow seats really, really pushed out with the hips. Now, they're doing this at the low rate. They don't do this at the high rate, if you ask me. But that's a great example there. I should have talked about this earlier, where if you're in a small boat, like look at the way bow seat is leveraging and hanging through the handle there. where they really are just so loose here. You can tell there's that suspension. There's almost that kind of like blur as they open with the back, where just really, really nice long hang. There's no tension in the shoulders, pushing all the way through here, through the foot plate, into the drive there. And yeah, really nice. They hold that all the way through the back opening. There's very little arm draw. You know, the arms stay long, right until there. Yeah, it's an extreme example because, you know, they don't do this at the high rates. Looking here at the World Cup before Paris, loose here, really, really loose. You can see that the hands go out together. You know, all hands, they're moving out at the same time. Obviously, you can't see that one. Locked there. You can see there's that kind of like lift here. And like, look, as they do the lift, like, look how loose everybody is in the shoulders. Look how still they are in the face. Look how kind of like impassive they are. They hook on. And I think like this is them halfway through the race. Look how calm they look as they do this. That loose connection there at full slide. And drive. And there through the finish, you know, they're not adding too much at the finish there. It's just kind of a nice like boop, just a sort of like gentle press out as they come through the back. But there, that, and again, Justin Best in the 2-seat really does it. He's the one. If anybody were to be pushing that back end, it would be him. But yeah, you can see there again, really good length, connected here. Like again, not losing any length there. They're in and on with that full compression. Legs. Like I like the way actually Justin does it here. The two of them here. In, still, and just nothing happens in the upper body as they come in here. It's like so still, press, and then all that happens is the slide starts going back, push with the hips, push with the hips, push with the hips. And then there, at that last second, they start to open, hang, press through. They're not adding too much onto it. They're not really yanking that finish. But yeah, really good job. Good job, everybody. The the one last thing I think they could have done better was how they took the blades out at the finish. I just thought they're a little bit kind of sloppy here. There's just a little bit too, I think, like stroke seat as well. Just a bit of a kind of flick there with the wrists where they kind of, you can see there's some water that gets thrown up a little bit, which, yeah, I think could be a bit cleaner. What I would say is push the blade out square more, then turn it feathered. But part of that is maybe like they really do hold on to the finish there, like they are connected all the way through here, and maybe they're getting coached to pull in like really high with the handles, and they want that kind of more sloppy finish. I don't like that too much because I think it kind of for the marginal like amount of connection that you gain from doing that, it's the con is you're just creating a bit of kind of a sloppy finish. It's harder when you're in rough water. It makes it harder to balance. And again, like when we look at the technique, we look for what are efficient ways that people can train. And I think, you know, you can maybe improve your balance if you have enough time taking your blade out and practicing like that. But for most people, they don't have the time to do 200K a week. I don't know about you. So kind of a hack to just get better balance is to pop it out square, then turn it feathered. But yeah, one last thing. I feel like, sorry, Stroke Seat, I feel like I've picked on you quite a lot on this. But I think partially why they look like one of the last people to square as they go in. And just if somebody was to be the most tense at the catch, it would be Stroke Seat. They just load a little bit in the shoulders there. And kind of as they drive, it's kind of like they lift up and they go up. And you can see, you know, these shoulders, they go from this position to that position there. You can see that angle. You can see the shirt as well. You know, if you look in here, that position, like as in theory, as you drive, that shirt shouldn't change. You can just see there's a little bit of a kind of taking it in the shoulders. And maybe some of that is because right before they put the blade in the water, they're having to go forearms, flick, and then that again just engages the upper body a little bit. But and then as they come through, there's a bit more. These two guys are really horizontal. Maybe they just go up a little bit, but they're in stroke seat, so they're doing something right. But yeah, what else? Oh, I'll attach the clip. Yeah, there's nothing else I wanted to add. Like the video if you haven't already, and if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Cheers. Enjoy the clip with Justin.